Dominik Mysterio is the perfect example of how a villainous heel turn is not only necessary for some WWE superstars who are trying to find their character, but it can be career-changing. From being almost exclusively recognized some years ago as the talented son of a legend who didn't exactly earn his way into the big leagues, his turn to a heel saw him become the most hated man in the WWE at just 25 years old, and also a key piece of the Judgment Day faction. But this is far from the first time that a heel turn has made a superstar more hated and more of a superstar and even more popular at the same time. Ask Bayley, who had a clean-cut babyface character who was good for 5 years and certainly earned her fans as basically the female version of John Cena. It may have helped her get her start in WWE NXT, but the harsh reality would hit her on the main roster in 2016 and 2017 when she had her start under the bright lights of Raw and SmackDown. 2017 may have been the worst year of her career, despite the fact that she retained the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Something just wasn't clicking overall. And in the words of Owen Hart, enough's enough, and it's time for a change. From some cringe-worthy segments to flat-out jobbing, it was in 2019 that her career got revitalized by winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and then following it up with the SmackDown Women's title. However, not too long after, she turned heel and has been in that role ever since. Ding dong, hello, it's working. She instantly became one of the MVPs of WWE's pandemic era in the Thunderdome, making the audible motion of a character in a ring without actual wrestling fans present feel like something. She reinvented her character during the most difficult time to present pro wrestling on television, and she took it to the next level. Chris Jericho has proven himself to be the king of reinvention in pro wrestling and has made a legendary career out of doing it. However, in 2 instances, in WCW in late 1990s and again in 2008 in WWE, he was forced to have a drastic character change to stay relevant, to reinvent yet again. The first instance in WCW resulted in him laying the foundations for some incredible character and mic work, while in 2008, his heel turn was one of the single greatest runs in the modern era of wrestling at the time. By becoming as hated as he did, he also made fans realize just how much he belonged in the upper echelon of the WWE. Yeah, he should be at the top of your list. I hope he makes it. Neville couldn't quite make it to this level. He still had one of the more impressive heel runs of the late 2010s. With his standout athleticism, he was having great matches, but the character simply wasn't there for fans to latch onto. He returned in late 2016 from an injury with a new look and a new villainous attitude. It was a huge success, although WWE never took the cruiserweight division that he led quite seriously. There's little denying is that he carried the whole thing as its champion and was the most relevant member of the division. It's a shame that his run ended up with him walking out on WWE, but at least he's doing some of the best work of his career in AEW as Pac. Speaking of AEW, Britt Baker has a baddie character change to thank for her popularity today. She started in the company as a babyface dentist, but who actually likes going to the dentist? And yes, she's a real-life dentist. In the early days of AEW, it just wasn't working, and nothing was really coming together until the Jericho cruise of AEW Dynamite, when she cut a promo that cemented her role as one of the true villainous women of everything elite. It seemed like she couldn't catch a break because she got injured soon after this turn. Once she returned, she was paired with Rebel, and they went on to storm through the division with one of the few wrestlers who benefited from the pandemic era, as it helped her refine her character and improve leaps and bounds during the time. It wasn't just her character that improved, but a series of classic matches against Thunder Rosa that proved how she was an all-around true main event player. When she became the AEW Women's Champion in 2021, there was no doubting her credibility was there, and she could carry the title now as the one that everyone just didn't like. WWE Hall of Famer Edge, on the other hand, had a lot of experience under his belt. WWE always took a chance on him, but the Ruthless Aggression era presented the perfect opportunity for him to step up and become more than just Christian's ex-tag team partner. He had been a single star for a while, but at that point, there just wasn't something there pushing it to that next level we keep talking about. An injury kept him out of action for most of 2004. When the wheels began to spin for the rated R superstar upon his big return, it was slowly brewing that he was going to become one of the top villains in pro wrestling. The start of this run would see him perfectly create all the elements for a bad boy who embraced being as bad as he could be, with the WWE Championship run less than a year later after winning the first Money in the Bank briefcase. It marked the start of what would be a legendary 6-year run, featuring some of the best feuds and matches of his career. If the Edge's peak lasted around 6 years, it might surprise you to learn that The Rock, yes, The Rock, one of the biggest superstars of all time in WWE, who's now one of the biggest movie stars in the world, had a run with the WWE that lasted just around 6 years. Nobody has made as big an impact as he did in that short amount of time. Vince McMahon realized the potential of this when The Rock returned from injury in 1997 and had a complete revamp. Prior to this, he was a tassel-wearing blue chipper who had the credibility of his father and grandfather's name as Rocky Maivia. He transformed into The Rock as we know him and would grow to become one of the biggest superstars of the Attitude Era, joining the Nation of Domination, and then moving on to become a massive WrestleMania main eventer who would headline multiple Manias with Stone Cold Steve Austin. It all started, though, in 1997. The eyebrows started to raise, and everything started to change. It took the WWE fanbase a bit longer to realize the true awesomeness of Shawn Michaels, but you can't fully blame him for that. His infamous and classic heel turn on his tag team partner in the Rockers, Marty Jannetty, that saw him slam Marty, his beloved friend, through a barbershop window in 1992, saw him literally break glass and break free into his own, beginning one of the most iconic runs in the history of pro wrestling, and certainly one of the biggest in the 1990s. It was after this heel turn that he began to prove he was among some of the best performers in the world. The brass of WWE understood this by 1994, culminating in a 2-year run that saw him become the WWE Champion in a classic Iron Man match against Bret the Hitman Hart at WrestleMania 12. He managed to establish himself as one of the key pillars of the new generation alongside Bret Hart. Speaking of Bret Hart, he was the childhood idol of the final superstar in this list, Roman Reigns. Now known as the Tribal Chief in full-on God mode as a nearly 3-year-long reigning WWE Champion, he has had one of the most dominant world title reigns since Hulk Hogan. It's hard to imagine him as anything but an arrogant, manipulative, calculated, and highly successful face of the WWE. But no fan is going to forget those long 4 years where WWE spent a lot of time and effort trying to make you think that Roman Reigns was the next John Cena, except not everyone was getting behind him. And in trying to make him that next Cena, WWE seemed to have wasted some time for Roman Reigns. The COVID-19 pandemic hit in, and with health concerns with that first no-fans WrestleMania, Roman Reigns pulled himself out of action. This time away made it possible for him to reassess his life and his career, and come back as a completely new, fresh-faced character, becoming almost the Darth Vader of WWE, with Paul Heyman at his side, a world title reign that would grow to phenomenal heights, and a faction around him in his own family in the Bloodline that has grown to become one of the most entertaining storylines of the last 10 years in all of professional wrestling. It just wouldn't have happened if he stayed a babyface. Wow, you watched the whole video. That's awesome. What did you think? Who are your favorite heel turns of all time in wrestling history? Get in the comments and let us know below. And don't forget to subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling and turn your notifications on so you know when we drop videos just like this.